What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fight Pit. It is so good to be back in the house call sports, that is. Had a little bit of a hiatus, had some time to relax, had some time to breathe, and now we are back ready to rock. Today, we are covering UFC 310 Pantoja versus Asakura, going down Saturday, December 7th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Intro music. What up, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you guys for joining us. As always, it is the boys in the house call sports, the Fight Pit. We are back. We had a nice little breather. We had a nice little time off, little breaky poo in between events, and we are getting back into the swing of things in style. We got UFC 310, and oh my goodness gracious, I'm going to try not to curse this early into the episode, but this is a card I personally have been looking forward to for weeks. They have been dropping banger after banger for this card for the last couple months. We've had a few unfortunately drop out since then, but we got some replacements. Still going to be a great card. This card is so stacked. I cannot even begin to tell you. We were covering a little bit of it before we got to recording, and this is a good one to come back on. Intros real quick for anybody who's new. My name is Drew. Today I will be referred to as Andrew Pantoja. To my left and right, we have Mr. Bad Beats, Sean Ryan Sports. Sean, so great to see you as always. Let the people know how you been.
Happy Thanksgiving to all, because this will be coming out after Thanksgiving. So hopefully you had a great holiday with all your family and friends, and hope all health for everyone.
Amen, brother. Amen. Yes. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We do these early. This one's going down right before Thanksgiving. So by the time you see this, it'll be like a week and a half or so. A week. I think I can get it Monday or so. So 5 days, give or take. But nonetheless, happy holidays to everybody, and absolutely do wish everybody well. Sean, how you feeling? How's everything holding up? You look like you're moving well.
Doing well. People didn't know I had a surgery done a little bit ago, and so far doing good, recovering. So hopefully get not cut some weight and get into the heavyweight class sooner or later.
Attaboy. Always a pleasure to have it. Always, yeah. Hey, we don't have a super heavyweight champ right now, bro. So hey, you never know.
We can make it first. We can make it first.
There you go. And as always, holding it down, we got Matt Talks MMA. Matt, how are you doing, my brother?
Doing great. Excited to go over the card. I'm actually going to this one in person. I know I told you guys that, but I'm just telling the podcast here. I'm excited to go over this.
Let's go. First timer. As far as the card in person, Matt, if there was one fight that you would say is the one that's going to make this event, like the one fight that you're like, that's the reason I'm going, what's the one fight you're looking forward to the most?
Oh man, there's so many. I would have to go either with the Ciryl Gane and Alexandre Volkov, or the Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Garry. I think both of those fights are great, and I'm gonna see some fireworks for sure.
Killer fights. One of the short notice ones, the co-main event, but they did not take a back step on that one. They did not take a back step at all. We just had the UFC Macau card wrap up this last weekend prior to this recording. Petr Yan putting it on Davison Figueiredo, and Shi Ming or Shai Ming. I believe it's Shi Ming. The doctor. Ooh, bro, brutal. Oh my gosh. One of the biggest stories coming out of the weekend. And she was I'm pretty sure it was the prelim. She was the UFC road to UFC straw weight. Straw weight winner for road to UFC. First ever women's straw weight winner for road to UFC. She's a doctor. Her parents don't know that she fights. She's putting people in the emergency room and then going and treating them. Keep it on the hush, guys. Keep it on the hush. Before we get too deep into it, we are going to give a wonderful shout out to our sponsor, Vivid Seats, online ticket marketplace where fans can buy and sell tickets to sporting events, concerts, and theater events nationwide. Reliable and rewarding tickets. Vivid Seats has a 100% buyer guarantee, plus the only ticket rewards program around. Being there is all that matters. Experience it live. Vivid Seats is empowering every fan to get to the live events that shape their most vivid moments and memories. Vivid Seats is committed to getting you to the events that you love more easily and more often. With over 1 million unique and in-demand events sold on their site, 19 million plus pump fans that have found their event tickets through Vivid Seats, and 140 million plus memory-making tickets sold through Vivid Seats. Thank you, as always, to Vivid Seats for sponsoring the boys in the Fight Pit. We love you. We appreciate you. Now, let's get on into it. We will be covering the entire UFC 310 card, top to bottom, giving you all of our official picks, our roundovers and unders, any bets that we'll be making, any bets that we would recommend. We're going to kick it off with the early prelims, starting it off with Sean. He's going to let us know about Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Lukasz Brzeski. Sean, hit him with it.
First, often something that Gage always says is we do not take the short notice fighter, which would be Kennedy. But Lukasz did draw the short straw on this one. Kennedy is a phenomenal fighter at heavyweight. Since he's come up to heavyweight, he's looked unbelievable. I think he's only had 2 fights at heavyweight, but both of them have been finishes. He's meant for this weight class, and he looks like he's going to run through so many people at this weight class. I know he's a short notice fighter, but he doesn't have to cut weight. So that's a big thing. He just has to be training. And supposedly he's an active fighter. He's actively training. Kennedy is 13-5. Last fight was a win. Height 6'5". His reach is 83 inches. Only 2 people have a longer reach than him in the UFC. That's unbelievable. And then you have Lukasz that is 9-5-1. His last fight was a loss. He's 6'3". He has a 78-inch reach, and he's predominantly a striker. The issue is he still has that heavyweight movement versus Kennedy has that light heavyweight movement. When you have guys move up in weight class, sometimes they have the athletic ability of the weight class below them, so they move quicker. Kennedy is actually going to be the quicker fighter in this. This is one of those fights that I believe that Lukasz has a puncher's chance. That is really it. He's going to have to make this a really in-close brawl, but Kennedy is very good at clinch work too. I don't know how you can pick anything else than Kennedy by KO. It could be in round 1 or round 2, but that's where I'm going with. I'm going Kennedy. Nzechukwu, I'm just going to make it easy work. Make first round KO. So under 1.5 rounds. That's official pick, Kennedy.
Beautiful. I dig it. Is there are we betting on this one, Sean? Is there a bet that you think we should lock in?
Yeah, Kennedy winning. Just him winning the fight.
Kennedy
you can't even do You could honestly, if you want to make it a little better, you could say Kennedy by KO. And then under 1.5 rounds. There's no way this fight's making it long. It's two heavyweights that brawl.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Next one up, we are going to throw it to Matt Talks MMA. Matt's going to let us know about Clay Guida versus Chase Hooper.
Yeah, so we got Clay Guida versus Chase Hooper. This one, I think this one's pretty straightforward. Clay Guida is, how old is he? He's an older fighter. He has like 64 fights, which is absolutely crazy. You look at his age. He's 42 years old, and Chase Hooper is 25. So, there's a 17-year age difference. I think Chase Hooper is going to try to make a name off of him. I think we can see a knockout in this one. Clay Guida is pretty durable. He hasn't really been finished too much in his last 5 fights. He was actually, let me see here, 2 of his last 5. So by submission, I could definitely see this one going to a submission. Chase Hooper has an underrated ground game, and I can see him getting it done by ground and pound as well, maybe rocking him on the feet and getting a submission or finishing it with ground and pound. Official pick, Chase Hooper. And then if I were to bet on this one, I would say over 1.5 rounds. I think Guida is pretty durable, and I think he'll use his experience to at least take it past that point.
Very solid, very solid. I agree. I like that. Clay Guida is Iron Man, bro. Iron Man. Guy is just can't even believe that he's still doing it. Like, as through the, not even just for how long he's been doing it, but the wars that guy has been in. Oh my gosh. I'm very happy that he's still doing it. Very happy that he is still there. You know what I mean? But Chase Hooper is no joke, bro. All right, next one up, we got Michael Chiesa versus Max Payne Griffin. And I am going to do the honors on this one. Michael Chiesa, 17-7 records, 11 submission wins, 6 decision wins. He's 2-3 in his last 5. Last fight was in August against Tony Ferguson. He got a submission win. Max Griffin, 20-10 record, 9 KO wins, 2 submission wins, 9 decision wins. He's 3-2 in his last 5. Coming off of a split decision win over Jeremiah Wells in February of this year. This one, of course, I gotta be a little bit biased, as always, with all the homies from back home, Central California. Max Griffin coming out of MMA Gold, training under Jim West. Marinoble martial arts, cross trains with Team Alpha Male. Just such a very well-rounded fighter. Somebody who's very experienced. He has wins all types of different ways. Not much that you're gonna throw Max Griffin that he hasn't seen already. On the other side, it's basically the same thing with Michael Chiesa. Michael Chiesa is just one of those guys that's been around. He's an Ultimate Fighter alum. He has broken his most recent losing streak with the submission win over Tony Ferguson in August. Prior to that, he lost to Kevin Holland, Sean Brady, and Vicente Luque. But before that, he beat Neil Magny, Rafael Dos Anjos, Diego Sanchez, and Carlos Condit. He's faced everybody that he could possibly face. He's been up against them. Max Griffin, same deal, faced so many veterans, so many up-and-comers. These guys are very durable. These guys both have solid ground games. I would give the ground game edge to Chiesa on this one. I do think that it's in Max's best interest to keep the fight standing. I don't think he'll be worried going to the ground, but just you're better off playing to your strengths, and Michael Chiesa on the ground is an absolute world beater. He will submit just about anybody if you give him the chance to. But he has been caught a few times here and there. Official pick, I am going to go with Max Griffin on this one. I think that Max is riding more momentum. I think that Max's upswing is just a tad more vertical than Chiesa's is. Chiesa, they've both been around for so long, but Chiesa has just been doing it for so long. He's also commentating. He's got a good future ahead of him when he does quit fighting. He's one of those guys that I think probably could retire at any point and nobody would be upset about it. But, credit to him for continuing to do it. I love it. I'll watch Michael Chiesa fight forever if he's able to. But the pick that I'm going with, I'm going to go with Max Griffin. I think Max Griffin is going to be able to get it done by decision. I think he's going to be able to avoid the ground game, keep it standing, keep the pressure on, land some good stuff, score some points, and ultimately edge out Michael Chiesa on the cards. I'm going to go with Max Griffin money line, over 1.5 on the rounds. And I'm going to say Max Griffin money line is also my bet pick on that one.
I agree with all those.
I do. Yeah, I agree with all of your guys' picks so far too. I think we're going to get a solid bounce back on this one. All right, moving right along. We are taking it to Sean. Sean is going to give us a brief little breakdown of Cody Durden versus Joshua Van. This is an exciting one. Sean, hit us with it, brother.
All right, this is one of those fights that if you don't know who these guys are, you better tune in because this is going to be an absolute bloodbath right off rip. Like first round, someone's getting gashed open, if not finished. And this is at the flyweight division. Normally you hear that, you're thinking, oh, this is welterweight or above. No, 125ers, these guys come the throwdown. Cody Durden, 17-6-1. His last fight was a win. He's 5'7", 67-inch reach. Then you have Joshua Van, 11-2. His last fight was a KO loss in a very competitive fight that he hurt Johnson twice in the fight. And Johnson's just that guy. He survives, and he got the job done. So congrats to him. So he lost his last fight. Is 5'5", 65-inch reach. So the height and reach advantage is not too significant, but it's 2 inches to Cody on both. The thing that does bother me with Joshua Van is he just got knocked out in July, and this is in November. Not even 6 months off. I'm not really a fan of that. Usually when you get knocked out, you want to – depends on the severity of it too. Like his wasn't like a flatline KO. This was more of like a TKO situation. But still you want to take off at least 6 months. But he didn't. So that one scares me a little bit. Thing is, Cody Durden doesn't have huge power in his hands. He hasn't KO'd someone in quite a while. Yeah, everyone looks at me and they think I'm fat, but I actually consume a lot of MMA stats. And here's one for you that I heard just recently. Joshua Van has the most significant strikes landed differential of anyone that has minimum of 5 fights. His differential per round is higher than anyone, which is unbelievable. That at minimum of 5 UFC fights. And I don't know, I would love to plug who said that one, but once again, I watched so many MMA videos and info like that I lost it where it's from, where I would give them credit. But he throws and throws often and throws hard as hell. And I do think he's going to clip Cody, and I think he's going to get the job done. I'm going to say it's going to be second round. I think the first round is going to be just absolute hell for both of them. I wouldn't be surprised if both of them get put on their ass. But I do think Joshua Van's going to get the KO in the second round. Only thing that scares me is just him being knocked out in July. So I'm going to say under 2.5. But my bet pick is going to be Joshua Van.
I agree. And also, you are not fat. You are just very full of MMA knowledge, and that's it happens to the best of us. All right.
Yeah. People don't believe it. I don't understand.
We can only keep so much in our brain, dude. We've got decades and decades of knowledge, man. It's got to go somewhere. But no, I do agree with you. I think that having Joshua Van coming in off of getting a KO loss less than 6 months, that's a common, rule of thumb for us too, is that we generally don't, as fans, as people who, advocate for fighters, we don't want to see people getting back in there that soon. It could, potentially stunt their career. It could lead to long-term problems. And with Cody Durden last fought in September against Matt Schnell, finished him by ninja choke in the second round. So he has been active. He's not just sitting around waiting to get a call. I didn't know about that strike differential stat that you threw out there, but I do believe it, because he is a he's in constant motion, and he is always throwing. He just has some of those overwhelming flurries and overwhelming combos that people just don't see coming. Once you think that his combo is over with a 1-2, there's two more coming. Those are the ones that catch people. The ones that you don't see coming are the ones that hurt the most. And being able to string together those combos is I think, going to be the key for him. Getting Joshua Van down to the ground, I think, is going to be very tough too. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup. I do like that one, but I agree. I'm also going to say Joshua Van gets this one done by TKO. I think it's going to be a firefight. Both of these guys love to fight. They're both looking to fight, and it's going to be an exciting one. I'm going to take Joshua Van also. Matt, let us know who you have in this Van Durden fight.
I'm also going to have to go with Joshua Van as well. I think in his last fight, Matt Schnell's last fight, he was getting outstruck, in my opinion, a little bit in the first round against Matt Schnell. And I think if you're getting Matt Schnell's a good opponent, but if you're getting outstruck by him, I think you're in a world of hell, a world of fun for Joshua Van as an opponent. And he has the power for a flyweight, which is crazy. And I know he did get knocked out not too long ago against Charles Johnson, and then he did have a firefight right after with Edgar Chairez. But Cody Durden's not really a KO guy. If you look at his not MMA record, his UFC career, he only has one KO. So I think that it's not very likely for him to chin Van. But then again, with it being such a short amount of time, you never know.
That's a good point. So we're unanimous on Van, so we'll make that one the official pick. Next one up, we're going to throw it back to Sean. Sean is going to let us know about Chris Weidman versus Eryk Anders. This one shouldn't be too tough for you, because you had this one on the previous booking of it. So hopefully everything will still stay the same, and it'll make life easy for you. But let us know who you got on this one, Sean.
Yeah, I'm going to start it from what I had last time, and then I'm going to add on anything else that's anything new. Last time I basically went with Eryk Anders, because does Chris Weidman have that All-American wrestling still in him with the leg being broken? And since we've seen him back, he hasn't been showing the wrestling, and everyone has basically been beating the hell out of his leg. And that's the key to it. Eryk Anders, very good at throwing leg kicks. Both these guys do like standing. I think Chris Weidman's only way of winning this fight, in my opinion, is going for some takedowns or 1,400 eye pokes like last time, and somehow getting a decision win out of it instead of a disqualification. But that's not my choice to make that, but still. Eryk Anders, I think he's a better striker. He has more power, significantly more power. Chris Weidman's 40-plus years old. He was trying to have it in Madison Square Garden retire, I'm assuming, in New York, but not the case. I'm still going with Eryk Anders. The only thing that worries me now is Eryk Anders had to pull out of that fight at UFC 309, and I believe it was because he was severely sick and had to go to hospital. I'm not 100% certain, but that's at least what was rumored when he pulled out. I didn't follow up to see about that.
I read that he had I read that it was like flu-like symptoms or something like that.
Yeah. I cannot confirm if he actually went to the hospital or not with it, but it was during when he was cutting weight too. So that means it hit him way harder. So feeling flu-like symptoms and then cutting all that water weight does way more damage to your organs than you believe if you haven't cut weight like that. So I'm still going to go with Eryk Anders. I just feel like the method to victory is way easier than it is for Chris Weidman. I'm going to say by decision. I know I've seen a lot of people say this by finish, like in my research, but Chris Weidman's a tough cookie. The people he's been knocked out from have had significant power. And Eryk Anders has power, but not that level of power. So I'm going to say Eryk Anders by decision, and that's going to Eryk Anders winning is my official pick.
Next one up, we are going to take it on to the prelim card, and Matt Talks MMA is going to let us know about Randy Brown versus Bryan Battle. Oh my goodness, you lucky dog.
Yeah, so we got Randy Brown versus Bryan Battle. This is a really interesting matchup. I think Bryan Battle is kind of the Max Holloway, the 145 Max Holloway of the welterweight division. You know, he hits you with a couple of shots. It might not all be power shots, but then he'll mix it up in there. And it really just keeps the opponents guessing. And I think that he's going to be able to implement his game plan on Randy Brown. I think Randy Brown definitely does have more punch-for-punch power than Bryan Battle, but I think Bryan Battle is going to be able to mix it up a bit more. As far as I think it's going to go over a round and a half for sure. Bryan Battle's more of the drag you out a little bit farther and then he'll finish you. And I'll ultimately have it as far as a bet. I'll go for Randy Brown money line and then official pick Randy Brown as well. Well, I meant Bryan Battle. My bad.
I figured you were going with Bryan Battle because Bryan Battle is he's one of those dudes that we would, no matter which one of us gets his assignment, we're all picking Bryan Battle. All right, next one on the prelim card, we got Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling. All right, Movsar Evloev sitting at number 5 ranked in the division, going up against Aljamain Sterling, still somewhat newcomer to the division, but already ranked number 9. Movsar Evloev with an 18-0 record, 3 KOs, 4 submissions, 11 decision wins, coming off of a unanimous decision win over Arnold Allen on January 20th of this year. Aljo, 24-4, 3 KOs, 8 submission wins, 12 decision wins, 1 DQ. This one, I think that Movsar Evloev is going to have a little bit more trouble with Aljamain Sterling than people expect. A lot of people like to write Aljo off because he's corny at times. He's had some wins where people didn't think that he was supposed to win. The Petr Yan rivalry kind of left a bad taste in people's mouths. But set all that aside, I don't think that Aljamain gets the credit that he deserves. The most interesting one on this one is the takedown defense for both of these guys. Aljo is at a 45% takedown defense. Movsar Evloev at a 71% takedown defense. So Movsar Evloev probably going to be the one to get the takedowns first. He's probably not going to get taken down if he decides that he wants to keep it on the feet. Neither of these guys I anticipate is going to want to try to shoot right out of the gate. I think both of them understand that their opponent does have a grappling pedigree that is not to be trifled with. I do think that Aljamain Sterling will give Evloev a little bit more trouble on the feet and on the ground than people are giving him credit for. He had a very good showing against Calvin Kattar, albeit it was on UFC 300 and it was a grappling display and it was kind of fucking boring. But it wins fights. It wins fights. And I'll always say it, if you can grapple, even though it's not the most fun thing to watch, if you can dominate somebody, if you can hold them down and restrain them and give them noogies and all that, do it, bro. Do it. It's going to win it for you every single time. So I think that the trouble that Movsar Evloev is going to have most of all is the size and the strength of Aljamain Sterling moving up to or not moving up, but having moved up to the weight class. Potential for a submission, but I don't think Aljamain Sterling's getting any quick submissions on this one. So I'm going Movsar Evloev money line. I'm going over 1.5, and I'm betting over 1.5.
And I kind of want to just pick Aljamain Sterling just to have it on the record, but screw it. I'll do it. I'll put Aljamain Sterling on the record for me.
There you go.
Go different one.
I like it. I like it.
You're going Aljamain also? All right.
Yeah.
Man, you know what? Okay. You guys convinced me. You guys convinced me. I'm changing
it to Aljamain.
I'm going back. Hold on. I got the ticker on there now too. So hold on. Let me run it back. Let me run it back real quick. All right. Movsar Evloev and Aljamain Sterling, everybody. Now that we have the ticker going, this is the official pick now. I am going Aljamain Sterling money line. I'm going over 1.5, and we are unanimous on that one. So we are all riding with Aljo on this one. Scratch it, lock it. Put it in your pocket. It's going down. It's going down. Aljo with the choke. Aljo with the sub. Love it. Love it. Next one up. We are going to start it off with Matt. Matt is going to kick us off for the Vicente Luque and Themba Gorimbo fight. Matt, take it away.
All right, so we got Themba Gorimbo versus Vicente Luque. This is a pretty interesting matchup. I ultimately think that Themba Gorimbo is going to – I think you should put the house on him. I think Vicente Luque probably shouldn't be fighting anymore. Ever since he had that brain hemorrhage, he shells up. I don't blame him. You bleed from the brain. That'll do it to you. That'll, cause you to shell up whenever you get hit. And you see that every time. He's a different fighter ever since he came back from that against, I think it was Jeff Neal. And you saw against Joaquin Buckley, as soon as he started getting pressured a little bit, he kind of just breaks under the pressure and he, crumbles up. And I think Themba Gorimbo is going to be able to do this. I ultimately think that as for an official pick, I'm going to go with Themba Gorimbo. As for betting, I'm going to say that this is going to go over a round and a half. I think Joaquin Buckley is looking pretty good now, and that was Vicente Luque's last fight, and he took him, I think it was 3 minutes and 17 seconds into round 2. So I don't think that Themba would be able to finish him any faster than Buckley would be able to.
I would have to agree, especially being short notice on this one. You don't know what Themba Gorimbo has been up to, but you got to think that he's probably been. I mean, they're not. This isn't like a very high profile fight. It's on a very stacked card, and it's against a big name as far as fight fans are concerned with Vicente Luque. But this isn't like stepping in on short notice for a title or like a main event or anything. So I don't anticipate that Gorimbo would jump off the couch completely out of camp and not ready just to take a fight like this. So Sean,
I'm agreeing with Matt on everything. I would say over a round and a half. I do think Vicente Luque kind of has – it doesn't help that he's gone against two very strong fighters. So it's like UFC's like, oh, brain hemorrhage? Oh, well, screw it. We'll put you against Joff Neal and Buckley. Like, what are they trying to do? Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Come on. Just get Francis Ngannou back. Just fuck it. We're going to go for it. Go for it. Like, but no, it's just, all seriousness, Vicente Luque should retire. If he does get finished here, and he's shelling up again, it's for his safety. It's just better to do it.
And that's going to take us on down to the next one, the featured prelim fight. We got number 12, Dominick Reyes, going up against number 13, Anthony Lionheart Smith. Sean, let us know how this one's going down.
This fight, if you asked me a year ago, I would have been all over Anthony Smith for this one. But because of what we saw in Dominick Reyes' last fight, he took some good shots from a power puncher and did not go out. He took his 1.5 years, 2 years off, let that chin get back to where it needs to be. Dominick Reyes, people forget how good of a fighter he is because of everyone thinks he's a glass jaw now. Like, you look at the people he did get knocked out by, though. He got knocked out by Jan Blachowicz. He got knocked out by Yuri Prohashka. Like, these are not guys that don't have power. This is some ferocious fighters. So when it comes to Anthony Smith's power has gone down drastically. When's the last time he KO'd or TKO'd anyone? It's been a long time. Dominick Reyes is faster, in my opinion. He's stronger. He has incredible takedown defense, and I think that's Anthony Smith's only way to victory because I don't think he's going to be able to knock him out. His chin was proven last time, and I just think that takedown, he will have to try to submit him. And Anthony Smith has already said, "Oh, I can submit him so easily. My ground game's so much better." It's like, yeah, but you got to get him to the ground. There's a difference between a BJJ and wrestling. You got to use the wrestling to get the BJJ. So I'm thinking Anthony Smith is going to be in for a world of hurt here. I'm going to say a third round TKO win for Dominick Reyes. He does have power. I've seen someone title this fight as the person that beat John Jones versus the person that had the worst performance against John Jones. And I thought that was hilarious and in a way kind of true. But yeah, I'm going to go Dominick Reyes, definitely. I do like picking underdogs normally, but this one's not one I'm picking an underdog on. My official pick is Dominick Reyes. I'm going to say over a round and a half because I don't think Dominick Reyes picks him apart that quickly. So I'm going to say over 1.5. Under 2.5 is kind of iffy because I'm saying a third round TKO. So we're just going to stick with the over 1.5, but Dominick Reyes is my official pick. Dominick
Reyes, though, in his last one, he's looking much better. And it's good to see because you kind of thought that he might have been one of those guys who ended up turning a corner and was on his way out. So seeing him bounce back in the way that he did, I can't remember who it was against, but he got a like first round KO in his last one, didn't he?
Yeah, he beat Jacoby. Is it Jacoby Jones?
Dustin Jacoby, yeah.
Dustin Jacoby, and Dustin Jacoby has killer power, and he took a couple in the first round, and he ended up finishing them in 2 minutes. Like Dominick Reyes put a beautiful combo, hurt him, put him on skates, and finished him. I remember. So,
yeah.
Honestly, thinking of that, it makes me want to pick even under 2.5. But at the same point, it's like Anthony Smith. He does have a jaw on him. He's a fighter. He is Lionheart for a reason. So I'm going to stick with over 1.5 though.
And that is going to wrap up the prelims. We are jumping into the main card. Matt Talks MMA is going to kick it off for us and let us know about Nate Landwehr versus Do Ho Choi. Oh my gosh.
That is a name that I can't get enough of. Do Ho Choi. Can't stop saying that. But I think that I'm going to have to go with Nate Landwehr here. If you look at Choi's fights, his last 5 fights, he's had 5 fights in the last 8 years. So definitely not the most active fighter. I don't really think that he's a good fighter, definitely, but the inactivity is really what's doing it for me. If you look at Landwehr's record, he has 5 fights in the last 3 years, definitely more active, and he's just an animal. He comes at you from the minute the bell rings to the minute it ends, and I think that we're going to see a finish for sure here. I would say the official pick, I'm going to go with Nate Landwehr. And as well, I'm going to put that betting as well, Nate Landwehr money line.
All right, moving right along, we are going to cover number 13 ranked Bryce Mitchell versus Crone Gracie. This is a one that got added a little bit closer, a little bit more close to the fights card itself. But nevertheless, one that I think is going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun. Going to be very interesting how this one plays out because it's a couple different ways. There's one way I think most people are expecting, but could be interesting. We got Bryce Mitchell at a 16-2 record, 9 submission wins, 7 decision wins. He's 3-2 in his last 5, coming off of that. Oh, so scary knockout against Josh Emmett last December. Kron Gracie 5-2 as a pro, all 5 wins by submission, 3-2 in his last 5, coming off of a unanimous decision loss to Charles Jourdain in May of last year. Now, this one is going to be this one. I think most people are expecting a grappling match in this one, but we saw in the Charles Jourdain fight, if you're able to keep the fight on the feet, it does favor you much more going against someone like Kron Gracie. Kron Gracie, an absolute legend from a family of absolute legends. I love Ice Cream Kron. He's just one of those dudes that you can't not like. He has one of the best grappling pedigrees in the entire sport. The trouble with that, though, is that he just hasn't adapted most of the other areas of mixed martial arts. He's been heavily reliant on the grappling, and it is a very, very dangerous tool that he has. If he gains the advantage, if he's able to wrap you up in the clinch, get a trip, land on your back, if he's able to get any kind of single leg or a sweep or anything like that, and get you to the ground in your guard, it doesn't matter if you're on the ground with him. If you are not minding your P's and Q's, he's going to take you out. He's going to take you out by submission. That being said, though, Bryce Mitchell is no slouch in the grappling department either. He is, I think, one of 2 or 3 twisters, but he's got some very high level Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and his striking is a tad slept on as well. He is not a bad striker. He does have 9 submission wins to Kron's 5 submission wins, but he also has 7 decision wins. So I think that if Bryce Mitchell plays it smart, I think that if he's not looking to go in there and try and make a statement and try and prove a point that his grappling is better than Kron Gracie's, I think that Bryce Mitchell can get this one done by decision. But that being said, like if he does go in there and he's trying to just let him hang and say, hey, I think my grappling is better than yours and I'm going to prove it, could be problems. But I think that the smart pick is going to be Bryce Mitchell on this one. That's who I'm going to go with. I'm going to say official pick, Bryce Mitchell, money line. The rounds, I'm going to say the rounds on this one, I think I'm going to play it safe and say over 1.5, just because I do think it is going to go to a decision. But either one of these guys are capable of getting a submission finish. So be very, very careful on this one. I'm going to play it safe, and I'm going to say that the official bet on this one is going to be Bryce Mitchell. He is a whopping -600 favorite on that one. So again, it's going to be on the favorites parlay. You're going to have to lump him in with somebody else to really make any money on it. But safe bet, I'm going Bryce Mitchell money line. Next one up, we have Ciryl Gane versus Alexandre Volkov. This one this one has some implications in it that I will get into. Ciryl Gane sitting at a 12-2 record, 6 KO wins, 3 submission wins, and 3 decision wins. His last fight was against Sergey Spivak in September of last year. And he got a TKO win in the second round. Alexandre Volkov at a 38-10 record. Goodness gracious. 24 KO wins, 4 submission wins, 10 decision wins, coming off of a unanimous decision win over Sergey Pavlovich in June of this year, riding a 4-fight win streak over Pavlovich, Tai Tuivasa, Alexander Rakhmonov, and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. His last loss was a first-round submission loss to the current champion, Tom Aspinall, the current interim champion, Tom Aspinall. Alexander Volkov has fought everybody, even this fight. This fight is a rematch. He fought Ciryl Gane back in 2021. He lost by unanimous decision, but since then, his only loss is Tom Aspinall. Very impressive. He's got 5 wins since they last fought. Ciryl Gane, the last time that they faced off in 2021, has fought and beat Derek Lewis by TKO, lost a unanimous decision to former champ Francis Ngannou, beat Tai Tuivasa by KO, lost to current champion John Jones by submission, and then beat Sergey Spivak coming back by TKO. So this one, I think that it's probably smartest to go with Ciryl Gane since that he won the initial matchup, but I don't know if I really want to on that one. He's a minus 300, Alexander Volkov plus 240. I think that this is going to be pretty close. Alexander Volkov has been putting it together. He's been putting it on people. And that's not to say that he hasn't been a killer in the past. He's been around so long. Like I said, he's fought everybody. He's having to go back through and refight people again. But these guys, Ciryl Gane sitting at number 2, Alexander Volkov at number 3. This one, you got to think that whenever they iron out what's going on at the champ spots for heavyweight, that one of these guys is going to be in the mix very soon. Sometime in 2025, I think that one of these guys probably has to get a title shot. For the sake of an official pick, I will say Ciryl Gane, but I'm not laying any stock on that. I'm not betting the Ciryl Gane on any actual bet picks. I think Alexander Volkov could get this one done. This one, I'm going to say fight does not go the distance. That's going to be my bet. I think this one's going to be a finish either which way. But we'll get everybody's take on this one. Sean, let me know how you got this one going down, bro.
If it stays on the feet, Ciryl Gane is just a faster version of Volkov, in my opinion. It's just faster. But the thing is, Volkov, when he fought a really good striker after he got knocked up by Derek Lewis. So what did he do when he fought someone a lot like Derek Lewis, being Tai Tuivasa? He took him down. And he ended up getting Ezekiel choke, which was my favorite submission of that year. So I love that. Heavyweight doing an Ezekiel choke, I'm in. Sign me up. That's awesome. I think his way to victory has to be going to the ground, knowing that Ciryl Gane, for the most part, has no ground game. Francis Ngannou and John Jones manhandled him on the ground. There's nothing he can do on the ground. So that would be my opinion, but I'm going to stick with Ciryl Gane. I think Volkov's just going to want to stand and strike with him. So I'm going to go with Ciryl Gane as my pick.
Understandable. Matt, what do you like in this one, brother?
I'm going to have to agree with you guys. I'm going to also go with Ciryl Gane. If Volkov wants a chance to win this, like Sean said, he will need to bring it to the ground. Ciryl Gane's so elusive, it's kind of hard to, hit him. A lot of opponents have troubles with that. Not saying that he's absolutely not hittable, because we have seen him get knocked down by Tai Tuivasa, but I don't think that Volkov has that one-punch KO power to outstrike Ciryl Gane like he'll need to. I feel like if you're going to go up against Ciryl Gane, you need to either KO him, one-punch KO power, or you need to wrestle, submission, grapple, go that route. And I ultimately seeing this one, I'm going to have to go with Gane, official decision. And as far as a bet, I'm going to go over a round.
And that is going to take us into the co-main event. Baby, this one is going to be a banger. I think I got high hopes for this one. Even though it's not what we were expecting, even though it's not the one that we initially had lined up, I think this one is still going to deliver. We have Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Garry. Shavkat Rakhmonov sitting at a very, very clean and polished 18-0 record. 8 of his wins are by KO TKO. The other 10 are by submission. 100% finish rate. Literally done nothing except finish people. Absolutely crazy. His last fight against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson became the first guy to ever submit Wonderboy back in December of last year. Prior to that, submitted Jeff Neal Magny, and just KO'd or submitted every other single person. But the most recent wins he's got against Alex Oliveira is also in there, but Neal Magny, Jeff Neal, and Stephen Thompson, 3 guys that do not get finished very often. He made them look fairly easy. Ian Garry, though, also undefeated at a very polished 15-0 record. He has 7 KO wins, 1 submission win, and 7 decision wins. His last fight was a unanimous decision win over Michael Venom Page in June of this year. He also beat Jeff Neal, also beat Neal Magny, D-Rod, Kanan Song, and Jordan Williams, the most notable names on his win streak. But Ian Garry being 15-0 and Shavkat Rakhmonov being 18-0, somebody's O has got to go. This fight was initially scheduled to be Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Belal Muhammad for the welterweight title. Belal Muhammad had to pull out due to injury, and Shavkat said, fine, just bring in another one. I don't care. I'm gonna stay on the card. I'm still gonna fight. It's not even for a title. I don't really care. I'll fight for the title when he gets back. I'm not gonna lose my O in the meantime. But man, this is gonna be a banger. We talked about Aura Gage and I in a couple episodes ago. Ian Garry's Aura, in my opinion, not really what people make it out to be. Shavkat Rakhmonov's Aura is for real. For fucking real, dude. He is a bad mofo. Mine won't take very long, so I'll drop mine in first and get us started. I'm gonna say Shavkat Rakhmonov by submission. If it's not a submission, it's gonna be a knockout. I think he's getting this one done either way. Matt, I'll have you go next. Let us know who you got for this co-main event.
I'm also going to have to go with Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think that there is going to be a clear grappling difference. I know Ian Garry has been training with Charles Oliveira, and that might help a little bit. But if that's like your first martial art, and it's kind of pretty hard to close that gap if you've already started from such a young age like Shavkat has. And there also was rumor that Shavkat did knock out Ian Garry in sparring at Kill Cliff. I think it was on the Jackson podcast I was listening to with Rampage. And I think they said it on there, or if not, then it was a video somewhere else. I've seen it multiple times anyways. But I think it'll be a good stand-up matchup, and I ultimately see I'm gonna have to go with officially Shavkat Rakhmonov, and then for bet I'm gonna go over a round and a half.
I like that. I forgot about the rounds too. It's a 5-rounder, right? Yeah,
it's a 5.
So if I'm gonna say that. I'm going to have to say under 3.5 just to play it safe, because I think that even if this was a 3-round fight, I think Shavkat's getting a finish in that one too. Sean, who do you like in this one, brother?
I like Shavkat. I am a little worried that he's very hittable, and Ian Garry is a phenomenal striker, and people aren't mentioning enough about that he can very much get pieced up. And over time, if Shavkat does not get to him and get him to the ground, they can add up. it's one thing that people say, oh, he got hit pretty hard by Geoff Neal and could take it. It's like, yeah, but he ate like 20 strikes in total over those rounds to the face, while Ian Garry will put 80 to 100 on you pretty easily too. And yes, he doesn't have the power Geoff Neal does, but he will put it to him. And people are also not talking about how tough Ian Garry is too. He took the same strikes against Geoff Neal. He's taken some. He got really rocked. I don't remember who it was, but he almost lost in the first round one fight.
Cannon Song.
Yep. And then he ended up finishing him, I think, the next round after that. And so he's a tough son of a bitch too. People not giving Ian Garry credit here. There's a reason he's still undefeated too. He's not like cherry picking his fights. And he was the first one to jump at this. Supposedly, what Shavkat is saying by his tweet, if you want to dissect it more, that multiple people said no to this fight before Ian Garry jumped right on it. So I'm not counting out Ian Garry in this fight because he has the great footwork. He'll be able to move around and he can land a lot and it can add up. I won't be surprised if Ian Garry can make it the decision by piecing him up, but I'm going to go with Shavkat. I think he's going to get him to the ground, and it's either going to be ground and pound or he's going to get the neck eventually. I'm going to say the fourth round because it's going to take a little bit of time. I don't think he's just going to charge in there and eat a couple shots from Ian Garry.
I feel like the odds should be a little bit closer too.
I do.
Yeah, Ian Garry, he has clean striking, and he can definitely put a beating on Shavkat on the feet if it can't take him down.
Yep, 100%.
That's a good point. I do agree that Shavkat Rakhmonov, as of yesterday, when I put these assignments together, was sitting at a minus 380. Ian Garry was at a plus 300. I'll double check and see if those have moved at all real quick.
I would have it at a minus 250 at most, in my opinion. I wouldn't go too much higher than that. So with it being that high, I wouldn't be against sprinkling either by decision Ian Garry or just Ian Garry straight up, just because you're getting good odds. But the safe bet is Shavkat for sure.
I would agree with that. Yeah, sitting in. I mean, I could justify having him as a 2-1 favorite. 3.5 to 1. I'm with you on that. Is a little bit tough considering Gary's pretty much faced all the same UFC competition that Shavkat has, aside from Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And Garry does. Yeah, they're still the same. So minus 380 for Shavkat and plus 300 for Ian Garry. Hey, Ian Garry betters, man. You're going to clean up on this one. Because getting Ian Garry at a plus 300 has not and will not happen very often, especially if he's able to get this one done.
Yeah, this is definitely one I wouldn't bet on the fighter itself, more so like the rounds or something like that, personally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If there was, let's see if we can. We're of course all going Shavkat unanimous, so Shavkat is going to be the official pick on that one. As far as a unanimous bet, let's see if we can come up with one of those. Do we all like fight not to go the distance?
All depends on Ian Garry. All depends on Ian Garry.
Like... True.
I would say over 2.5. Would be my thing.
It's pretty good.
I like that. I don't think Shavkat gets it done that quickly either. I think it's going to be it's a tough fight for both of them.
Facts.
I actually like this better. I know this might be a hot take. I think I like this better than Belal Muhammad versus Shavkat.
Oh yeah. Not to hate on Belal Muhammad, he definitely does get a lot of hate and everything too. Belal Muhammad did come out and make a better fight of it against Leon Edwards than I thought he would. But absolutely. Having this one, like I said, Ian Garry is very good on the feet. He does manage distance and manage pace very well. He's able to keep himself out of trouble. Very high fight IQ. But Shavkat is just Shavkat is just a boogeyman, bro. Boogeyman. Shout out to Laura Sanko. She called
I was
that
about to say that.
a
Damn
long
it.
time ago.
Damn it.
A long dude.
Oh,
Laura Sanko was
oh.
on that Shavkat train way before everybody else, and we all jumped on right behind her, dude. She
That's not the
was
only Shavkat train she wants to be a part of.
yeah.
Oh, man.
No hate, no disrespect. Very respectfully, Laura. We love you. We love you. And that is going to take us into the main event of the evening. We got the champ, Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Asakura. Pantoja sitting at a 28-5 record. Kai Asakura making his UFC debut with a 21-4 record. Pantoja 28-5 with 8 KO wins, 10 submission wins, 10 decision wins. Currently riding 6-fight win streak. His last fight against Steve Erceg in May of this year, he won by unanimous decision. Prior to that, beat Brandon Royval twice, Alex Perez, Manel Kopp, and Brandon Moreno. Very, very solid resume for the champ. Kai Asakura coming over from, was it Ryzen? He was the Ryzen champ, wasn't he? Yeah. Kai Asakura, the Ryzen champ, making his UFC debut, jumping right into a title fight. 21-4 record, 13 KO wins, 3 submission wins, 5 decisions, coming off of a TKO win over Juan Archuleta in December of last year. Doing his thing over there. I got to give the edge to Pantoja on this one, but we haven't seen too much of Kai Asakura against UFC competition. He does have, I believe it was Horiguchi. Let me double check that real quick. Yeah, Kyoji Horiguchi, he beat him in 2020 by KO. Horiguchi, for those who don't remember, fought against Demetrius Johnson for the UFC title at one point. Juan Archuleta training with, I believe, TJ Dillashaw's camp. So he's been in there with champions. He's been in there with UFC vets. He's been in there with the best that Ryzen has to offer. So he does have the experience against guys who have been in the UFC. I know it's a very common saying that the UFC is the best in the world. Guys can do really well anywhere else, but until they face that UFC competition, it's a whole different level. And sometimes people struggle with it. But I think it's going to be a pretty close fight. I think it's going to be an exciting fight. I think it's going to be a nonstop action-packed fight. I don't anticipate either of these guys gassing out, so I think it's going to be a firefight for as long as it lasts. I'm going to say Pantoja, money line. And I'm also going to say the rounds will be over 2.5. I think this one's gonna drag out a little bit more. Could be a finish, but I think if there is a finish, it's probably going to be a little bit later, especially Kai Asakura getting in there in the UFC for the first time. We don't really know how he's going to deal with it. We don't know if it's going to be the type of stage that he's used to. Over there in Ryzen, they do have really big crowds. But fighting in the UFC is just a different animal. So we'll see how he does with it. Let's take it back the other way. Sean, I'll let you drop in on this one now. Let us know how you see this one going.
So Ryzen was one of those groups I didn't watch a lot of, so I had to watch quite a few fights of his to really get a grasp. I definitely see a way to victory for him, for sure. He definitely can knock him out. But what we've noticed is with Pantoja is he just has a thick damn skull. Like, he doesn't go out cold very easily. And I do think that Pantoja is going to take him down. And I don't know if Pantoja can get the submission here because he's never been submitted. But we haven't, I don't know how many really great grapplers we've seen Kai actually fight. But so this will definitely be the biggest test you're going to get. And I understand why UFC is doing this, is because there's kind of a limbo at 125, and on top of it, he is such a massive star in Japan. and there's never been a Japanese champion in UFC. I'm going to go with Pantoja with this, but I've been wrong on just about any Pantoja fight I've ever picked, but I've picked against him a lot too, so that's also a factor. So I'm going to pick for him, and then we're going to have the first Japanese champion, and I'm going to have Pantoja storm the house and beat the shit out of me. So well, get ready to watch that on YouTube too. That's going to be there after he kicks my ass for this, but I'm picking I'm picking Pantoja to win the fight. I'm going to say by decision. It's just tough to gauge him not being in UFC. It's like if he even had one fight in UFC prior, we could gauge him better. But him not being UFC, we don't actually know the talent level at that time, like what it would transcend against the best 125er currently.
Yeah, I agree too. It was tough. Like I said, Juan Archuleta was a champion. I can't remember if it was Ryzen or maybe Bellator or so, but I know that he was a champ. He's training with TJ Dillashaw, so he's got a fairly decent grappling game. Horiguchi, I think, also was a grappler of some sort. They got a few, but just very difficult to gauge how he's going to do against that UFC competition. I agree. Matt, let us know how you see this one going, bro.
We're going to be unanimous on this one. I think Pantoja definitely has this one in the bag. I think that the stage is a different too, as well. It's not an octagon; it's more like a ring. In Ryzen, I think that can play a part as well. Takedowns against the cage is very different. Some people even like rely on, just takedowns against the cage and then bringing it back towards the middle, and I think that can definitely play a part as well. Kai Asakura, I can see him all the path of victories that he would take to defeat Alexandre Pantoja, but ultimately I see them, throwing him in the deep end. Like Drew said, I don't necessarily agree with it. Maybe he should have gotten like a number one contender fight beforehand, but Pantoja has really just wiped out his whole division. He's really fought everyone within that division, and I ultimately see him getting it done by, I want to say submission, but like Sean said, he hasn't gotten submitted yet. We don't really know what the level of grapplers he's went against. Pantoja's really high level grappler, very relentless. He's put Moreno in a couple bad positions on the ground as well, and you know how good Brandon Moreno is. So yeah, that's ultimately what I would have to say.
Last but definitely not least, we got to get the locks and dogs in for this one. Let me pull up the odds. All right, current odds. As far as the dogs are concerned, I think that I probably am going to throw Alexander Volkov in there just because I think that Volkov, if he's able to learn from how easily John Jones was able to get Ciryl Gane to the ground and dominate him, I think that Alexander Volkov could be some trouble for Ciryl Gane on there. So tentatively, I'm going to say Volkov on the dog picks. I think I gotta simmer on it for a minute. Anybody else? You got anybody you want to throw out? Go for it.
Yeah, for the dog, I'm gonna have to go with Aljamain Sterling. I think if you're picking like logical, a lot of people are gonna go with Movsar Evloev, but I want to see Aljamain Sterling win, and I'm gonna go with him, and I'm gonna pick him as my dog.
I do like that one. Sean, what you got?
Yeah, if we're doing the full card, even the prelims, I'll definitely take Aljamain because we all picked them. But if we're just doing main card, I kind of want to put in Kai because we don't know. There's such a element there we do not know about him, and he has crazy knockout power. But for a flyweight, half his fights have been knockouts in his favor. So, so those are my two up in the air.
That is tough. I do like that. I think that I think that we can go. I think we can go unanimous on Aljo. I think we can go unanimous on Aljo, and then tentatively, you guys sprinkle Asakura and Volkov in there too, because there's all these odds, man, all these very long odds. There's going to be an upset somewhere. It's going to be an upset somewhere. Show of hands, everybody in favor of making Aljo our dog of the week. Boom. The Aljos have it. All right. And as far as locks, ooh, man, this might be tougher than dogs. Lock, I'm gonna throw my guy Max Griffin out there. I'm gonna throw the homie Max out there as a lock. But I also do really want to go with Chase Hooper, but that's just Clay Guida. We were talking about it beforehand too. You guys were saying that Clay Guida has been training with Jim Miller. We just saw Jim Miller come in and cover as a dog. Very, very difficult to bet against Clay Guida in that. Very tempting at a plus 600. So my first nomination, I'm going to nominate Max Payne Griffin. You any other ones throw out there?
I'm going to go with Themba Gorimbo. I think a lot of the other fights, I can see people making a case how the other fighter could possibly win. And Themba Gorimbo, I think it's pretty straightforward. Vicente Luque is obviously not the same fighter he was. He shows up a lot. He is scared to engage. And against somebody in Themba Gorimbo that's trying to prove something, that's trying to really make a name for himself against someone like Vicente Luque, I think it'll definitely play out his way, and it's a lock for me.
That's a good call. I like that one. Sean, who do you got for us, bro?
If we're doing just fighter, I think I'm going to do Bryce Mitchell, because Kron Gracie, as much as I talk about BJJ being fantastic, it's also like you got to have a little more than BJJ, and Kron Gracie hasn't even shown a jab. So I always say anyone that's good at grappling, just do a jab to get to your takedown, get to your submissions. And he doesn't do that. I think Bryce Mitchell is going to absolutely dominate that fight. He just has to be careful and not get caught up in something.
I don't think that even though Kron Gracie did get dominated in that one, I don't think that Bryce Mitchell is a step down in competition from Charles Jourdain at all. So I don't think that it's going to be like any sort of a gimme fight. It is, like I said, they did announce it a little bit later. So we'll see how it goes with him. But Bryce Mitchell coming off of the KO could play a factor. But I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, for sure. And just to piggyback off of what you said, I feel like a lot back then we saw a lot of specialists, and Gracie is definitely within that category. Nowadays, a lot of people are just mixing it up a lot better than what they were back then. And if you're not evolving with the game, you're going to get left behind, and that's Kron Gracie's case.
So we got, for the locks, Max Payne Griffin, Bryce Mitchell, and Themba Gorimbo. Boom. Those three. And then we are unanimous on Aljamain Sterling as the dog. Let's go, Aljo. All right. And that's it. That covers the entire card, top to bottom, baby. Any final thoughts? Any last minute picks or any bets? Anything you guys want to throw out there?
Don't be afraid to sprinkle a little on Ian Garry if it still stays at plus 300, or even fight to go to distance. I understand 18-0, 18 finishes, but Ian Garry's footwork is fantastic, and he will keep throwing at range. Like, Shavkat's going to have to eat some to get to him. And it's basically when Shavkat throws caution to the wind, and will Ian Garry be able to put him down or to keep him back? So if it's plus 300, sprinkle something. Why not? $10 to win, $30 profit. It's worth doing.
Absolutely.
100%. Last week we even saw a huge upset at UFC Fight Night Macau against, I forgot what her name was. You know, the one that usually has the face paint as the Joker. She was a huge favorite and didn't go her way.
Was it the Veronica Hardy fight?
No, it was. Hold on, let me.
It's like a plus 500.
Wayne Kong. Her name is Wayne Kong.
That's
plus 500. Plus 500 hit.
Yep. That's a good call. That's a good call too, because she looked like an absolute lock. Coming into that fight, and just Gabriela Fernandez, I think. Yeah,
Gabriela Fernandez.
Yeah, I compare MMA odds a lot to NBA odds. You see a Giants like odds difference. Don't be too afraid of it, because there's sometimes upsets can happen. Like it's not like NFL or MLB where if you see a massive odds where you should pick the massive odds. You'll find some big upsets in MMA and also NBA. That's where I compare it most to.
Especially this season. This season of the NBA has been ridiculous. Ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
All the teams that were terrible last season are pulling it off like every other night against playoff contenders for last season. So insane. I agree. So as we always say, there's going to be an upset. Trying to figure out which one it's going to be is the tough part, but I can guarantee you there's going to be an upset. But I like our picks on this one. We went unanimous on a lot of them. We've been killing it. We've been winning out on multiple fight night cards. The records were all hovering just over 60% hit rate. Sean's still leading the pack, just under 70%. We hit a little bit of a rough patch over the summer. Had some DDP beating Adesanya, Bilal beating Leon Edwards. There was a few of them that hit us pretty hard, but we're back on track, and we're still working our way back up there. All right, that's gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning into the Fight Pit. If this is your first time joining us, please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you let us know anything that you guys have opinions on in the comments. If there's certain picks you think are going to go the other way, let us know. We would love to hear your takes on it. Make sure you are following all of our handles. I'll always have all of our Instagram handles on during the intros, and the official Fight Pit on Instagram, the House Call Sports on Instagram. Subscribe to all of our sister channels. You can find all those at the bottom of our YouTube channel too. Boys, it's so good to be back. So good to see you again. We will be back here every single week. Anytime there's a UFC fight card, you come right to our channel, and we got you with the picks, the predictions, the breakdowns, any news, recaps, everything that you need. We got you every single UFC card. Fellas, it has been a pleasure. We will see you on the next one. Peace.